What's going on? Dylan Conrad, Metabolic as Fuck. Today I'm going to talk to you about why the fitness coaching industry is fucked. Before I get to that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Spotify, iTunes, same thing. Write a review, bell button, all helps the algo, helps me help more people like you. So, the coaching industry is fucked. And before I go any deeper, let me just pull up my notes because I don't want to babble on y'all. I want to be very precise and to the point, okay? Brett Contreras, who has been around for ages. I think I first saw his article in 2007. He started publishing on T Nation. For unfamiliar with T Nation, it's just basically an overall health site, more towards like, actually it spans everything from corrective exercise to bodybuilding to like natural health stuff, like longevity, everything. So he wrote a post recently. He trains mainly bikini athletes looking to grow their glutes, and they call him like the glue guy. He's actually really good content. Give him a follow, Brett Contreras. I think it's 1T. But he talked about this pendulum swing that we're seeing in the fitness industry right now. And so whereas when I was started, back in when did I start? 2006, I think? Maybe 2008. I can't remember. Anyways, so when I started, the experts in men's health and, writing posts and everything were the coaches that usually had a facility, and they coached people, right? And they were talking about their experience from coaching people and what's working and what's not working. And right before the pandemic, there's been a humongous pendulum swing in the other direction, in towards the experts are the influencers. So the influencers, the difference between a coach and influencer, coach coaches people, influencer talks about their own transformation and tries to coach people that way, right? And so you can see the issue with that, and that what works for, if you have a coach that's coached multiple, thousands of people before, different body types, all that, versus a influencer you're taking advice from based on their own transformation, it's not a good idea, right? Because every body is different, everybody is different. And so the issue with that is a couple things. One, most prominently, is we're all kind of getting coached the same way. So you have, even if it's a woman coach, 9 times out of 10, they've been coached like a man, right? Because all the research is on men. You've heard people like talk about hormones don't have calories and there's no difference between men and women, and you can't build muscle because you don't have testosterone. Like all these different myths that are based off of men, and it's such bullshit because there's so much, misconceptions out there. But all the research is on men. And I'm reading right now Lyle McDonald's book. I think it's just called The Women's Book. It's volume 1. It's just on nutrition and the difference between men and women and how to coach women successfully with nutrition. And so Lyle McDonald's been around just as long as Brett Contreras, I think longer. But he does a great job on researching and presenting everything. And the main difference between men and women and why they should be coached so differently in terms of nutrition is the ovulation cycle. Men's hormones or testosterone stays pretty much the same day to day. Women's fluctuate throughout their cycle. So we're looking at progesterone, estrogen, and a couple other ones, but those are the main ones, and there's a lot of overlap between them. So it's a really hard area to research. We have the follicular phase, which is basically the first 2 weeks of your cycle, and then we have the second 2 weeks, which is the luteal phase, which ends in menstruation. And so if we kind of look at that, for example, men and women are going to metabolize actually pretty similarly in the beginning of their cycle, right? So if you took a woman's first 2 weeks of her cycle, which is called the follicular phase, it's going to be very similar to a man's processing, right? Metabolic processing, all that stuff. The second weeks, for example, caffeine, men and women are the same. The first phase, the follicular phase, for the luteal phase, the second phase in ovulation, they process caffeine completely differently, right? And so when we look at nutrients, when we look at overall energy intake, everything, we look at everything, there's a lot of differences that men and women should be coached very differently, right? Very differently. And obviously there's always what is it called? Exception to the case, right? And those are typically those influencers that you see that have had women that have really good results and stuff that work for men, tracking macros, staying at, same calories, being in a calorie deficit, like that worked for them specifically because they are an outlier, right? And then now they're coaching all these people, telling them what to do based on something that just works for them, and they're like the outlier. So you can kind of see what my point is here. There's two big things. Everyone's coaching people like men, and the other reason is because there's a huge pendulum swing in terms of people getting advice from influencers rather than coaches. So my little rant, just think about that this morning. There's been a huge pendulum swing. I'm fine with it because I consider myself somewhat of an influencer, right? And so I'm kind of having an easier time with the both. But if you're a coach, unless you kind of market as an influencer somewhat half and half, you're kind of screwed. So you see like really good coaches kind of getting screwed out of the industry because they just cannot market in terms of being more of an influencer and showing what they do and all that stuff. So anyways, I thought I'd deliver this. So if you are looking for a coach, and you were specifically a woman and you do not want to be coached like a man, hit me up. Instagram's great. Dylan A. Conrad is my handle. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully this helps, and love y'all.